We'll call the meeting to order. At this time, would you rise for a moment of silence for the invocation and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to welcome everyone here tonight. At this time, we will open it up for public input. Have we got anybody that has any public input? Jake Mendez. I will allow you 5 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Jake Mendez Jr. I'm a civil rights activist and ACLU of Washington member and an NAACP member as well. On the agenda, I'd like to express my no vote to the school levy. Now, Source One article was released of a middle school student at McFarland Middle School who is autistic, who was mistreated, discriminated against, and wasn't treated fairly and equally. Now, this levy, to me, in my eyes, is bullshit. Now, the reason why I want to say that, because this levy is not equal to all for all students. Because of their disabilities, the student and the view of the school board didn't do much about it. Didn't even bother to address an apology for this family. Now, I know this family personally because she is a good friend of mine. And I've stood up to the school board meeting just today, and I'm doing it again today in honor of GT, who was discriminated and wasn't treated equally and fairly. Now, this levy is just proven that it's not going to mean anything for all students, just some, only selected few students, regardless of their religion or their popularity or their sexuality, if they were straight, gay, or bisexual. It's pretty obvious that the school board expressed their anti-LGBTQ stance against the community. I was there for it, and I'm aware of that. This goes far as way back to where a student had told a black student to use his hand to unclog a toilet many years ago. Now, I want to boldly stand up for this child and all the students who have been bullied, discriminated against, who have been mistreated, who are not on sports equally and fairly. So I'm going to stage a protest suggesting that the Othello school superintendent either resigns or steps down. And I'll do it as long as it takes. And I don't give a damn if he wants to retire or collect Social Security. I don't care if it's 5, 10, 20 years from now. I'm willing to stand up for all students equally and fairly so that the school district and all teachers and students are treated equally and fairly. And I will stage a protest silently, holding a sign suggesting that he resigns or steps down. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take roll call.
Pete.
Oh, Pete, yes.
Is that the protocol for participating?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that my comments over the next couple of minutes will be disconnected from the presentation related to the levy. Certainly, Mr. Mendez has been consistent in challenging some of his thoughts about public education in America, but I just want to set a couple things straight for the community and for all of you. Not because I want to give oxygen to the statements and claims that he makes, but because people that I lead and support want me to challenge things that maybe aren't presented in a way that's consistent with what we believe as a school district. Schools in America are one of the last entities where you can't isolate yourself. You can isolate yourself in the people that you want to hang out with. You can isolate yourself on vacation. You can isolate yourself on social media. You can isolate yourself in your church. You cannot isolate yourself in a public school because every kid is welcome there. Every child is welcome in our community. Every kid has a right to a public education in America. And I'm really proud of the things we do in Othello. And when someone challenges that concept, they can say what they want about me. There's a public nature and a public official component to my role and to my work, and I fully accept that, just like all of you do. But I also have a responsibility to make sure that I defend and support the people that are working so hard every day for your children, for your grandchildren, and for your neighbors in this community. So I want to make sure that I'm clear about a couple of things, maybe more from a teaching point. There's a leadership talk that Teddy Roosevelt put out there about the man in the arena. Maybe some of you are aware of that. And there's a portion in there that I think some people read into that it's about those of you who have chosen to be in the public arena and people like me. But there's also a couple of key components that are important for people who are critics to be mindful of. It's not the importance of the critical voice. We should listen to that, but we should also not forget the people that are doing the work every day and our responsibility to support them as they step into that arena. So I'm here in this moment for them. Also, at the end of that writing by Teddy Roosevelt, there's a sobering line about not knowing victory or defeat because you don't get in the arena. When you make things up, when you present half the story, when you take a headline and share that as truth and accuracy, that's a false narrative, and it's not a real fight. And when it's not a real fight, you never know victory or defeat. And people who live in that sort of space and that sort of activity, they're not doers. They're not getting good things done. I also pretty consistently hear the term ACLU and that entity and its important place in American history. The ACLU was designed to support people and keep them safe from a tyrannical government. There were really important things happening for students of color who didn't have access to public education. There were students and families who were silenced, and the ACLU led the way to challenge those things. I want to believe today that the ACLU takes on real fights, looks for real things, keeps people focused on the real work, not the things that have been discussed tonight and not the things that will be discussed in the next several meetings. At some point, I will leave the Othello School District. At some point, I will retire. At some point, I will resign. But it won't be in this moment, and it won't be for this reason. And again, this isn't about me, but it's about the people and the kids that come to our school every day and deserve our best. And so before we talk about the levy and we get an opportunity to do that, I want you all to hear me, and I want everyone who works for us to hear me, that I'm so proud of everything they do every day, coming to show up every day for our schools. I'm proud to be here to represent our schools and to be part, not only from, but I'm of the Othello community. So thank you for having us here today. Thank you for letting public comment happen. That's what's supposed to happen in America. But just because you have free speech doesn't mean that it's not going to get challenged. Doesn't mean it shouldn't be countered, and doesn't mean that it should not be accurate. So thank you for letting me have a moment, and thank you to all our staff who are watching and who support the good work that happens every day in the Othello School District, because there's a lot of it.
Thank you, Pete. At this time, we'll take roll call. Councilmember Garza did advise me that he would be out of town. He would try to get on Zoom. Do we have him on Zoom? Okay. Councilmember Garza, are you available? Okay. He's there. Okay. Thank you. So with all members being present, I would like a approval of the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did we hear from?
You haven't voiced a vote yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
We
Okay,
just
just
took
for the
the-
record, I want to let you know that I'm on my iPhone. I cannot connect to the website, Zoom website on my iPad, the city iPad. So I did go through the agenda though, and I know, I'm aware of what's going on. The agenda tonight.
Okay, we just had a first and second on approval of the agenda, and we just need your vote on that.
Yeah,
Okay, with that, it's unanimous. And I also need to mention, I believe we have our attorneys online also tonight. So if there's any questions from the council tonight. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Got a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
And 7?
Yep.
Unanimous? Okay. Mark? Mr. Barnes? Okay, now we'll go on to current business. At this time, I would welcome the Othello School District. This is a very rare opportunity that we get a chance to meet together, and I really appreciate your guys' time that you took to move your schedule around to meet with us tonight.
Appreciate the invite, and I know that there is some rareness to it because our schedules and how we establish those meetings, but certainly welcome the partnership opportunities and appreciate the board for being creative and perhaps moving forward, we could set up more consistent experiences like this. I do want to make sure before we present tonight, Dr. Meek will be assisting me in presenting some of the content, that I do acknowledge our board members who are in attendance tonight. We have our board vice chair, Aaron Gerber, our director, Izaro Pruneda, also directors Bertie Fote and Mariah Munoz. And so I appreciate them being here today as we share some information with you about the school district levy. Much like your work, our public work, there's some limitations in the things we can share. And so tonight's just an informational meeting. We'd certainly welcome questions from the council and from the city staff as we share with you the replacement levy for the Othello School District. And that's how we framed it as we've shared it with staff and constituents as we've gone out and about. It's really about stability and maintaining what we're asking of our taxpayers. Next slide, please. So what we're going to do tonight, hopefully in about 10 or 15 minutes, is just briefly walk you through what a school levy is. I know you have some experience with that as a municipality and ways that you levy taxes on folks, how it works in the Othello School District and what it does for our students, where those funds come from, and what it protects here locally, and why the rate that we've put in front of the board and that we've advertised, and now you may have received your ballots at home already, why that amount is what we're pursuing. This slide here really talks about a community improved investment. There are times where you all ask the community to make investments in things that are good for our communities. And we certainly, like I addressed earlier with Ken here, partnering with the city about initiatives that you have and things that are good for the school district. The reciprocal nature of that relationship is really important. Good communities build good schools, and good schools help build good communities. So we really want to lean into that relationship. But a school levy for us is what we think is important locally, we have to fund. The state doesn't fund it all. They have a prototypical model that they say, hey, here's what we think schools need. If you want to do more locally, you have to figure out how to pay for that. And it creates a gap. There's a gap in our funding sources. And I'm sure that exists in your work as well. So locally, we have to decide, how do we fill that gap? And so they were created to help communities determine how much you could collect. And over the years, the state has adjusted the rules about how much you can ask for and what those limits are, and concerns about equity, so that a community that has greater property values couldn't far outpace a district that maybe is a little behind, like Othello is. And so we want to share with you tonight what we're asking our community to consider and what it might mean to rates along the way. How a levy works is local funds stay local. So we tax ourselves. We've been doing it for the last several years. For decades in Othello, levies have been very successful. So it's our local dollars, our local students, and partnered with, in a place like Othello, what's called LEA, and I think we're going to get into that a little bit, but that's local effort assistance. If we put some skin in the game, the state will kick in a little bit more, and we'll talk you through those numbers and why that makes sense. But number one idea is, how do we make sure we provide the services that those of us in Othello think are important for our kids?
For those of you who I haven't had an opportunity to meet, my name is Josh Meek, and I'm the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning with the Othello School District. And so if you go to the next slide, please. One of the first places to start is thinking about the student experience and what do students benefit from a levy. And we can talk about it, what that prototypical model is, but I think the important part is to localize it for our students that walk the halls of our schools and classrooms every day. So an EP&O levy is what this is referred to, which stands for Educational Programs and Operations. And as Pete already shared, it's the things that allow us to have some local values to fund the things that are important to us here locally above and beyond that state basic formula. School operations, much like running a home or a business or a city, everything costs money to operate all of the facilities. And you can imagine that magnified to if you think about all of the facilities that the school district is responsible for. And that's not just in upkeep of the facility, but even to keep the lights on, to put trash bags, to fund the recycling. I mean, all those things get very expensive. And unfortunately, that's an area where, just like in our home budgets, what it's costing today, it hasn't quite caught up, or it's outpaced maybe what's happening, and it's costing a lot more to do those same things today. Staff and services, you're going to see in a few minutes here that obviously as a school district, we really employ a lot of amazing people that do great things every day, but they also come with a responsibility to offer them both professional compensation for professional work, but also that prototypical school model that Dr. Perez shared. Quite frankly, none of us in this room would probably want that educational experience for our students. It's far inferior to what we expect, and so that often comes in needing additional staffed positions beyond the basics. And then stability for students. We have some local partners around us. If you think of other communities that have recently faced some levy failures, and you see what the opposite of stability looks like. You see how it interrupts schedules, and that's far beyond athletics and activities. While they are part of the levy and a significant part of it, often that's the thing that gets all of the face attention, that they are the most important thing. But there are, I would argue, in every classroom every day, there are things that are levy supported and levy funded that are important to recognize that those things provide stable learning experiences for students. Go to the next slide, please. Where the levy comes from, we've already talked about the side of the left there, that it's part of your local property taxes. Probably much like you get questions about it, as we do too, is that sometimes people have a difficult time understanding what's on their tax statement because it's not always as crystal clear as maybe we'd like it to be. There is a state schools tax that goes to Olympia, and then that's distributed out. But the local levy and local bonds, this is just about a levy, but that stays local here, and so when people see that on their tax base. The rate that we are proposing, and that's in front of voters on February 10th, is $1.50 per thousand. It's a consistent rate with where it's been. That's why it's a replacement levy. And so for a person who owns a $300,000 home, just as a number, or a piece of property, that would pay roughly $450 a year for the levy tax that goes into there. And that obviously fluctuates based on the assessed valuation, and so that's just an example. We sometimes, I know some people's property values are much higher than that, and we really have been very cognizant to maintain that consistency for families and landowners, homeowners, business owners, so that they don't experience some of that fluctuation in rates.
We'll do a teachable moment here. We'll go to the next slide after one question.
Hey, Pete?
Yeah.
When was the last time the O&M levy failed?
Yeah, that's questions come up a lot, and I think it was, we determined it was the year 2000. And so something odd must have happened in the community that year, because we went back and looked at the rates, and it was 48% failure in February. And then in April, it was 75% passage.
Yep.
So we're wondering if there was some communication or something odd happened that year, or maybe if people were frustrated with something. But Othello has had a strong history of passing school levies.
It was a lack of communication.
Yeah.
That's what it came down to. Then a committee was made, came together, and I don't think they've not passed one since.
Correct, yeah. You're well trained. You're like a police officer. You only ask questions you know the answer to. So, so thank you for that. Yeah.
You mentioned the match. Are you going to go over that? I'm curious, is that based on a percent or?
Yeah, we'll show you a little bit more about the numbers themselves. And I wish Amy Suarez was here. She's our Executive Director of Finance. And so I'll try to parrot some of the information Amy shares, and Dr. Meat can certainly help me with that. But let's jump to the next slide. And there's a little bit of math here for you, so for Councilmember Spohr. $1.50, we really are leaning into being really clear and providing information. This is a replacement levy. This is the same amount. It's not a new tax, so to speak, but it's a continuation of a tax that's already been in place. And I know you all wrestle with tax issues every year to think about. I think you had one recently about for roads and transportation, and trying to convince people that you've demonstrated and been good stewards of their funds as they've come in to maintain our roads over a decade. And if that drops off, those services are going to go away, and letting people know that it's just a continuation of the good work we're trying to do. So in Othello, but in schools in Washington, $1.50 is particularly important. Next slide, please. And so that stability, we worked with a community group called our Future Ready Schools team. It's a makeup of district parents, some district staff, to come together and say, what really makes sense for our community? Well, it failed in 2000, but we also know, and you all know, the economic times and the press that the agriculture community is feeling in our area, in our region. We wanted to make sure that we presented something that was palatable to our constituents. And so that committee said $1.50 makes sense, and presented that to the board, and that was accepted. It protects for 4 years. It gives us a chance to budget out and make some plans and provide stability for our staff. And so we don't want to make sudden cuts. There's an excellent model of what happens when a community doesn't pass a levy to the north of us in Moses Lake. So dramatic sudden cuts would certainly be an occurrence, and we don't want to disrupt student learning. Next slide, please. And so some of the things that we provide here that we've talked with our staff about at McFarland Middle School, I think oftentimes, and I think there was a comment earlier about marginalized students perhaps not being prioritized in the district. McFarland's an excellent example of that. The state funds us for about one, maybe just over one counselor at McFarland Middle School. And when you have 800 or 900 13 and 14-year-olds who have all of those issues that we experienced as middle school students, you need skilled counselors to work with them. At McFarland Middle School, we have 3 counselors. Our community has said counseling services are really important for our youngest learners. We have 1 counselor at every elementary school. That's a rarity in Washington. We have strong partnerships with OPD, and we have school resource officers that the district funds in partnership with the city of Othello. That's important to people in our community. We have 4 security officers at our high school and our middle school. That's important to our parents. It's important to our staff. It's important to our community. We have to fund those things locally. The state doesn't provide those services. So when you think about mental health and student supports, all those exist. Some of the other areas, early identification and specialized programs, those are the things that teachers want to talk about. And so in our informational presentation with them, we're really clear about the services that they provide every day. And again, things we have to pay for locally that the state says is beyond the basic programming. The one that gets the most attention, because when you don't have athletics, you don't have extracurriculars, people notice that. And I really believe that one of the key components, if you think of a few chambers of the hearts of the community of Othello, the schools is an important one. And so we want to make sure that we provide those opportunities for our students, because beyond the classroom experience, many of you had experiences in school that didn't occur in the classroom. They occurred in other areas that prepared you to be part of a team like this, that prepared for you to deal with critics, that prepared you to be prepared and be thoughtful about where you were headed. That doesn't always occur in the classroom. And so we want to make sure our kids get those opportunities as well. So then you might ask yourself, and perhaps you do this in your planning and budgeting for the city of Othello, thinking about, well, will someone pick up and move to Moses Lake? Will they say, I'm taxed out, I'm going to go to Pasco? Those are considerations we want to think about and make sure that we're giving the community a good return on their investment. So when you look at this slide, you'll see Othello comes in right at the bottom. These are another series of school districts in our area that are running levies on the 10th like us. So February 10th, all these folks will be putting levies in front of their communities. Now, again, we picked $1.50 because it's consistent and replacement for what we're already doing, and it's what the committee wanted us to consider. Also, what the $1.50 tells us in the state of Washington is and Dr. Meek's going to go into this a little bit more, so I won't steal his thunder, but that $1.50, you want to really remember that number and why it's important in Washington state. Yes.
Pete, how long have you guys been at $1.50?
Oh, gosh, it's been years.
It's been forever.
Yeah.
I do want to say something about this. I think the fiscal responsibility that the school has shown in the O&M levy really needs to be commended. I mean, it was $1.50 when I got involved passing the levies, and it's not changed since, where every community around us has changed that. So, I mean, to me, you guys are really doing a good job at managing these funds on this levy for sure.
I appreciate that. It's been a decade of learning for me at the district office and a number of skilled people in finance. Right now, it happens to be Amy Suarez. But just like you all have with your city budget, that our budget is made up of several components. The levy makes up about 11% of our budget. You know, there's some concern about federal grants. I'm sure you might be feeling that pressure as well, and whether or not those are going to continue. There's some concern about what the state's going to do with legislation. There's legislation under consideration right now to lift the $1.50 amount to $2.50. And if that comes to pass in the Othello School District, we're going to have to knock on people's door and say, this is what it means if we don't raise it. So lots of things in legislation that are being considered, but I really appreciate that commendation because we are getting a good value for the investment in our community, and I think it's excellent.
Well, I appreciate the fiscal responsibility, and people in Othello should know about it.
So speaking of the $1.50, if we could go to the next slide, we've identified 3 areas why this levy rate really works. First, we've talked a lot about that steady rate for families and something that's predictable and plannable. And it's nice to hear that there's some recognition that it has been in place for a while. And please understand, much like your work, that doesn't happen without some really intentional focus to keep it there and have that responsibility. It's not just by accident. In those other districts you see having to go out to other places or to their community and ask for much higher amounts, you know, they're facing some different challenges than we are in Othello, and we really should take notice of that because there's a reason why it's that way. So that $1.50 keeps the tax rate. It also keeps us as the lowest rate in the region and avoids that added pressure. Stability that families can count on. You know that when there's disruption to school things, it really creates some pretty big ripples for families, whether those are the elective classes they take. You know, on that list a few minutes ago, you saw a slide that talked about elective programs and classes. You know, not every high school in America offers their students an opportunity to take a CDL class and be certified in CDL. But in Othello, our kids get that opportunity. Those are those kind of unique programs. And so imagine if you're a kid and you're planning on your junior or senior, or you have to be a senior because you have to be 18. Imagine you're planning your senior year to do that CDL class, but then because of lack of a levy, it has to be canceled and your whole career pathway is sent in a different direction. And so that's an important part about stability for families at an elective level. We also, and many of you have been here a long time and know that we have some capital construction needs that are continuing to be around the corner for us. Othello High School is really beyond its lifespan and where it sits and what's next around the corner. And so part of this levy is a 4-year replacement levy to allow us to get off of a cycle of trying to ask our community for both a levy and a bond simultaneously. Because we're going to be having to make, this Future Ready Schools team will be making some recommendations about what that really looks like. Just like you know, every time you go out for an election, there's also an associated cost for the entity that does it. And so the less frequently we can have an election to do, it's the cost savings there. What it means in the classroom, obviously reducing uncertainty, keeping programs in place, and allowing educators to plan with confidence. We have some really, I wish I had a different chart here that would kind of bore you, but there's a pretty amazing piece of data that we look at that looks at how schools like us, especially at the elementary level, are performing in comparison to the state. And I can tell you without a doubt that our students are getting the best that's possible out there. to really not only set them up for success beyond, but even today, we might hear a lot about what's wrong with public education, but I can assure you that there's some pretty amazing things happening, and we need to stand behind our educators and our teachers in our classroom to let them continue to plan for those things, not to fear a disruption of that coming. If you'd go to the next slide, please. Dr. Perez already shared the levy makes up 11% of the total operating budget for the Othello School District. When you look at that 11%, and Mark, we're going to come back to it here, it's the next slide, but the combination of both locally collected levy dollars and the local effort assistance, that LEA funds, they total together in the last school year $7.4 million. So that 7.4 is where the 11% comes up. When you look at that and how it's broken down, the largest of that is staff compensations and benefits. We've given you some examples. Dr. Perez shared the examples of counselors and security officers, but it's also even down at the classroom level. What a state definition of a appropriate class size probably none of us would think is a really great idea. And so some of it's class size reduction. The other part of it is the state of Washington has in that prototypical school model, they also have a prototypical funding model in what they give a district to fund a teacher. And it is far below any average salary that floats around out there. So that gap between what is funded and what actually it costs to employ a teacher, it applies to all job classifications, so it's not just teachers, but our classified staff, administrators, you go right down the line, and none of them are funded at the full state level. The cost of employing them is far greater than what the state payment is. Together, you put that all together, and it very quickly contributes to 55% of the staff compensation and benefits. Activities and athletics, we've talked a lot about how it's very front-facing, but it's actually only 18% of that total levy, which is about $1.3 million, if you're doing the math quickly there. And then maintenance and operations, district operations, counseling and health, safety, and technology accounts for the other 5%. And so you see that total pie chart of where that 7.4 million is really breaking out. Now let's jump over to the local effort assistance on the next slide, if you would. So first of all, local effort assistance is a state-funded thing that really comes along to both property poor and to districts that are deeply impacted by poverty. And so it's a match of sorts, but it's not a dollar for dollar match. In some places, they don't get any levy equalization. And the idea behind it is what the Mercer Island School District can produce in a levy run is very different than maybe what Tonasket can. And so the levy equalization is an attempt to kind of level that playing field for all districts. We are very fortunate that it's probably easiest to go to the second one. For every dollar that's invested from a local, so that $1.50 if you're putting in, for every dollar, it becomes $2.38 of impact. So the state actually more than matches our local tax dollar for us in Othello, which is a pretty exciting thing to see because obviously that $2.38 goes pretty far. So in the life of this levy, 42% of it, so about $19 million over 4 years, and you see the year-by-year breakdown there. And then the state portion of that is the $26 million, which would contribute then $45 million total over 4 years. Now, here's the catch to that. We told you to hold on to the number $1.50 because it's a significant number. The state provision is also that you have to pass at a minimum of $1.50 in order to maximize your state local effort assistance. So if we were to run it at $1, we would actually get less state match to coincide with it. It also is, $1.50 is a magic number because it doesn't go up if you pass a higher rate. So those districts that are running at $3 or $2.70 or $2.50, it's not any higher. So $1.50 truly is the magic landing spot to maximize that local effort assistance. And we think those numbers are pretty good to stick with. So.
All right, so I'm sorry, I got to think things really simply. So
That's okay.
is it what you're saying is if this levy doesn't pass, it's not 100% impact on your budget. It's a 300% impact on your budget.
I'm trying to do some quick math in my head there. Remember that the total combination of both levy and levy equalization is just 11%.
Right.
I say just 11%. I mean, 11% is a significant portion of it, but it's 11% of the district budget. So yes, if if we were to say, no, locally, we're not going to pass that 19 million, we also lose the state 26 million to go along with it.
That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. Yeah, we agree. So that's how that, and this is something that not every district's numbers look like that. And so that's one of the things that really drove the $1.50 and the commitment to that. You see the increase each year. Those increases keep the rate at $1.50, but they're planning for approximations of increase in assessed valuation over the 4 years of that. And that's obviously a forecast. And so we are hopeful that they are in range, and we've done a lot of work to really estimate those to be accurate. Because the other thing that even if you pass the levy at $1.50, but let's say assessed valuation changes and you're only collecting at $1.40, you actually take the hit twice, because you take it on the $1.40 and then they also lower their state local effort assistance. And so it's a complex formula, but the important part is keeping at the $1.50. Yes.
What's the approximate or average funding gap for the employees from what the state provides and then what we provide locally? What's that average percentage?
Yeah. I can give you one job classification, and please understand, I am a former teacher, and so I'm saying this not of any disrespect to teachers, but their salary happens to be the easiest number to look at, and it's the largest group we employ. The state reimbursement rate for a teacher is about $80,000 a year total. The average salary of a teacher in the Othello School District is $107,000. So for every employee, there's about a $27,000 gap of unfunded. And keep in mind, those are only on the state-funded people. So we have whole people that are not. So when we have, our counselors are part of a teacher's contract. So the 3 counselors that work at McFarland Middle School, if we're funding one of them with state dollars and the other 2 are locally funded, we have the entire responsibility for them. And that, the numbers vary by job classification, but there's a consistent gap for all of them, is the bottom line. All right.
Does the 1%, I've heard you can only increase 1%. Does that not apply on school levies?
For approximating assessed valuation?
Well, year to year, what you can tax can only increase 1%. Is that,
It doesn't apply to ours. Our responsibility, we have to estimate what the assessed valuation will be in each of those 4 years of the life cycle of the levy, and then generate it backwards to stick with the $1.50. And so, the school levies are currently set that it has to be in the range between $1.50 and $2.50. You notice on there, I think it was Columbia Burbank was above $2.50, and that's because there's a provision in really tiny small school districts. There's a per student minimum that has to be met, and so if their $1.50 to $2.50 falls below that, they allow the local community to go higher than that to hit a state minimum per kid.
So, sorry, I'm just trying to understand. You said you are estimating the assessed value. So it's not actually tax dollars that come in on an actual assessed value. And so you are estimating it with some formula and hoping that it comes out to about $1.50?
Yes, but we're not just, we use historical data to really look
No,
at.
and I'm not.
Yeah,
It
is.
just seems crazy to me that it's not based on actual assessed value,
Well,
so that you would know.
The crazier thing about it is when it's actually taxed.
Right.
But when we sit today and forecast a levy out for 4 years, we have to estimate what those values will be. And now if assessed valuations change greatly, either dropping or increasing, it messes with the total value of that. But we've made a commitment that we're sticking at the $1.50.
When assessed value went up a couple of years ago, we had that 10, 15, 20, 30% jump.
Right.
That was a dramatic negative impact to our ability to tax at that level because it dropped us down below $1.50. So what did the state do with their match? They dropped it as well. So it was a double whammy.
Wow.
We weren't collecting enough locally, and it was you all dealt with it in response to the state saying, we need accuracy about assessed value across the state of Washington. So they went out and did that, and the counties did it, and then that was the impact. It's not unique to Othello.
But if you think about the impact of that, taxpayers were upset because they saw this significant increase, and entities were upset because they, all of a sudden the total collection dropped so significantly in that state. So it felt like everybody lost in that scenario. So.
In addition to what Councilwoman Camp said, does the 4 year term risk that situation a lot more? I mean, I understand the rationale of the moving away from the 2-year, but do you risk getting burned more?
Yeah,
blown by
that's
4?
certainly risk reward there. We think it provides the reward of stability.
Right.
And lets us project out. The state now requires school districts, it's just new in the last few years, to actually put out a 4-year budget forecast. You didn't have to do that before. And they saw a number of school districts getting in trouble. So it helps with that. We
Yeah.
feel pretty confident about where we're at staffing levels and having a good understanding of that. The other piece that Dr. Meek mentioned earlier, and you all, some of you were a part of this as the city and the school district and a private entity got involved in a land exchange just last year.
Right.
Just over a year ago. Othello School District in 2029 will qualify for significant state matching funds to remodel, rebuild, reimagine that high school. And what the taxpayer in Othello is going to experience is a drop in their bond payments. Just like you, so the way I've been explaining it to our staff, a levy is more like a car payment. You know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. A bond is like a mortgage payment. We're going to make the last mortgage payment on Othello High School in December of 2027. And the state of Washington says, if you take care of your schools for 30 years, after 30 years, we'll give you a little bit more cash. And so we're going to qualify for a significant state match at that high school.
Right.
And then, so then the consideration for the committee is keep a flat levy rate, knowing we're going to experience a drop in the bond. And could you go back to the voters and present it as a replacement tax to keep taxes flat and get a new high school out of it? So that's what people were wrestling with and considering. And the 4-year window gives them more options to think about that.
And that's based on heavy forecasting on your guys' part for how that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing that, as long as you have the support, you're probably in a pretty good space. I mean, we're hoping we don't let you guys down and keep everything growing, so.
Yeah, for sure.
You lost me a little bit on, this is $1.50 times assessed value of the school district, the whole district, not just the city. So if assessed value goes way up, why are you dropping below 150?
Because those amounts that you see here, I think is where you were getting your 1% maximum, the 4.1, 4.6. We won't go above those numbers. That's the maximum we would collect. We have.
On the percent, or what is that based on?
Yeah, so it's based on the percentage of expected growth. So we try to be aggressive with those numbers. The actual total impact will be most likely, if we don't have the dramatic big jump in property value like we had before, we'll be below that number. We won't collect the total 45 million, but if you're not aggressive in your prediction, then you won't be eligible if things do line up.
Right.
Yeah. And if you got all that, more power to you. Well, we really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you tonight, and Ken, we look forward to more opportunities to be present and to partner with the council on projects in our community. Thank you.
That's the end of your presentation?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Question for the attorney. If she's available.
I am available.
All right, my question is, as a city council, what avenues can we legally engage in to support the levy?
That is a great question and something I was actually looking at today, not for this particular preparation, but thankfully have done. So there is the ability for the council, should it desire to take a position on a ballot measure such as this. Hold on just a moment. I have way too many tabs open, so I'm trying to find my specific one that I was looking at earlier. So hold please. Let me take a look at that really quick. I'm going to go off camera so you don't have to stare at my face, and you can keep on talking, and I'll pop back on as soon as I've got that for you, okay?
Okay. I have a discussion point on that.
Okay.
Because the question that I'm hoping to get resolution to is if we as a city council choose to support, which we will probably need to discuss and debate that, the replacement levy. If council finds that to be something we can legally do, I'm I'm probably going to make the motion that we do that. This is critical to our community, and it is a replacement levy. They have just put forward a presentation of the fiscal plan and the fiscal responsibility. I don't know if the city has ever endorsed a levy in the past, but I think that this one makes sense. A replacement levy like this one makes a lot of sense with what was done. So if we have the ability to support that, I'm going to make the motion to do so.
Like if they have to cut sports programs, I mean, if you looked at the high school this weekend, there was buses from everywhere there. I mean, Idaho, all over the place. A lot of people in town.
You know, Mark, what you're saying is think about what that is going to do if this levy doesn't pass to our facilities and the usages on them. So that would definitely increase that impact in our end. So I mean, from a financial standpoint, this would make sense for us to be supporting the school.
Well, she's back on. Let's hear what legally we can do.
Thank you. All right, so there is the ability for the council to to express a collective decision or to actually vote upon a motion or resolution or other action, so long as, or to support or oppose a ballot measure. So I'm just talking in generalities here, right? So long as any required notice of the meeting includes the title and the number of the ballot proposition, and members of the council and members of the public are afforded an approximately equal opportunity for the expression of an opposing view. So if there is any folks that have, there should be some time allotted for the expression of an opposing view in order for the council to be able to take action upon that. And in this instance, let's see here, I think we have some additional time that could be used for that if the council desired.
But we didn't give notice for this meeting that we were going to be.
Joanne, just for clarification point, to do this, we could not do it tonight. Most likely we would have to go through public hearing process. Would that be correct? Or something similar to?
No, not necessarily a public hearing process. No, it's not an official public hearing, but it's allowing equal time for people who are in support and equal time for people who are in opposition to have opportunities to come and speak. That doesn't mean that it will actually end up being that much. It really kind of depends upon how many folks show up. Obviously, you can't force people to, right? But if they are afforded approximately an equal opportunity for the expression of an opposing view. I need to look at the agenda really quick just to confirm what the agenda looked like for this evening. And as far as whether or not there was, it was the Othello School District levy presentation. So it did not have the actual
right.
Yes, citation for the levy in order for that to occur. However, if the council wanted to do this at its next meeting, which I understand, time is becoming short for those sorts of things for this particular measure, council could choose to do that. And upon the direction of council, we can certainly advise you on how to do that in a legally responsible way.
Is there any time period requirements for notification for action like this?
No, they're the same. They would be the same as any public meeting. But on the other hand, it's always better to provide more notice than not because there could be complaints about de facto, putting your thumb on the scale, if you will, for that notice. So it would be the same notice as required underneath the Open Public Meetings Act for the meeting itself, but it's what is contained within that notice. And also, usually it is advisable for councils, at least I recommend this to councils that I advise, to reach out to those that they may know have supporting views or opposing views so that folks have the ability to, it's that notice and opportunity, right, to be able to come and voice their opinions.
Final question. Does it have to be in the form of a motion or recommendation?
Or resolution.
Or do you want a resolution?
It can be in the
Oh, yeah,
form
that
of
sure
many
does.
different things. It could be a motion, it could be a resolution, it could be an order, it could be an ordinance, if you like. I mean, truly the simplest one is to do a motion because that doesn't require anything written. However, if the council is anticipating bringing this forward for council's consideration and wanted to have a draft resolution ready, on the agenda for that, providing that notice in advance, that would be something that the council could do. And just because the council has a resolution that is included on the agenda doesn't necessarily mean it's a foregone conclusion, because that resolution can always fail. Depends upon how the votes go, as you know.
So to clarify, it needs to be a motion tonight or a recommendation tonight for a resolution at our next meeting, perhaps.
You don't necessarily, I mean, if you would like to
So
make a
recommendation
motion
works. Perfect.
that is brought, then you certainly can to have that brought before the next meeting. But that's also something that can be handled in your normal agenda construction.
Right.
There's the possibility for a special meeting so that we could do it before February 9.
Yeah. Oh, Kelly, is your mic on?
It's green.
I did hear her. So was that a question for me, or was that a question for the mayor?
No, my question is, what is the opportunity for us to maybe have a special meeting so that it doesn't wait until February 9, since ballots have to be sent by the 10th?
Right. Of course, that's a logistics question. The council is always able to call a special meeting should it desire to do so. Following the normal procedures for calling a special meeting underneath the rules for the council, and so that's probably a better question for the mayor and for all of you sitting in the room, as far as whether you have the time to do so.
So that falls on the council, whether they want to do that. It would be a quick meeting.
I'm certainly
possible.
willing, if it's something that everybody is willing to do, to be able to have the opportunity for the public to speak and then be able to do a motion to support it.
I think, too, it's good to have a public debate and discussion. I mean, so this is something new that we have maybe done before, but like I said, as important as it is, as the impacts as it can have potentially on the city and some of the activities do, I think it would be good for us to consider this. So, and to get input from the public to see the direction they would like us to represent our community.
Would staff be prepared to have a special meeting next Monday? Okay. Any
If
further?
I can offer one
Yes.
more item just for consideration. So there is the option. So that is for a collective expression of the entire council as a whole. There is always the opportunity for individuals to, express their support or officially endorse something if they choose to do so. That is something that is allowable underneath state law. And that is specifically RCW 4202, oh my gosh, 4217A 555.
Mr. Mayor, I would be unavailable February 2nd, February 3rd, February 4th, due to prior commitments.
I'm not available all next week as well. I'm out for the week, so I won't be in.
Does it have to wait until next week?
I can Zoom Monday though, if it's Monday.
We can do Monday the 2nd. 24-hour notice.
Okay.
We only have to do a 24-hour notice. We could do something this week if needed.
If
Yeah.
people are not available next week, if we don't have to wait a whole week to do it.
Just got to supply a 24-hour notice for our meetings. So,
Just got to have quorum.
and it could be any time of the day.
For me, if we did it this week, it'd have to be 5:30 or later.
Okay. Any other council members want to?
Yes, Mayor, I'm available January 29th, January 30th, after 4 p.m.
Any other? So we're looking at the 29th to have a special meeting to discuss.
At what time?
Let's do 6 p.m.
Their meeting
Okay,
time?
that's doable.
Okay.
I may have to Zoom, but I'll be
Okay.
here or on one way or the other.
Okay.
Councilmember Garza, would that work?
That'll work. I'll Zoom.
Okay.
5 would be a little better. 5:30? Is that what your time is? No, you're,
I get out in Moses at 5.
ugh. Okay, I'll make it work.
Okay. We will call a special meeting, no, on the 29th.
I'll just be late.
Okay?
You need a motion?
We need to check on court. Sometimes that.
Oh, could go.
That's January 29th. Doesn't say that there's anything
Says
for
the
court that
30th,
day.
but not the 29th.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. We will call a special meeting then and have discussion in support of the public school levy. Thank you again for coming tonight. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the Award Well 7 Rehabilitation Project. Robin?
Okay, good evening. So we went out to bid for the Well 7 Rehabilitation Project, which is pulling a pump out of the ground and just doing some inspection work. So this section of the work is just the pulling the pump, video inspection of the hole, and the inspection of the pump and motor, and then putting a transducer in the hole. It's not putting the pump back in the ground until after we've decided what we're doing with it. So we received 3 responsive bids, ranging from $62,106.80 to $180,556.82. And our engineer's estimate was $108,200. So we were right there in the middle of all of that. So Schneider Water Services was the lowest responsive bidder. And so we would recommend that the council award the City Well Number 7 Rehabilitation Project to Schneider Water Services in the amount of $62,106.80.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have any discussion?
Which one is well 7?
It is down by Bench Road off of Highway 24. Out on Pegram's property, Doug Pegram's.
Oh, out there, okay. That's been a pretty good well, hasn't it?
It has, in the last couple years, it's really declined in producing water. So we're not sure if it's the hole is having some infiltration with some sand particles that we need to clean out, or if it's the motor or the transducer. That's why we need to pull it out and see what's really happening.
What's an estimate to put it back in? Is that 25,000 or less? Once,
To
okay.
put it back in. So if the pump and motor are fine, we can put it right back in the ground. If it's that they have to do some rehab on the hole, there's other wells in the city that we've done that.
Right.
And so they've cleaned it, or one of them, they even went down and put some blasting down at the bottom of the hole, blasted it to clean it up. So there's different options that we can go with, but we won't know until we get an inspection.
Okay.
Question to Tanya. Is that form of the motion adequate with something with a fiscal note, or do you need us to tell you? Okay, just verifying. Since the attorney's on, I don't want her to yell at us, so.
Okay, I got a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. It's unanimous, so carries. Approval of task order 2026.01 with Rogers Surveying Incorporated. Robin again?
Yep. late last year, we authorized a contract to work with Rogers Surveying. And so this is the first task order that we've used with them. The city, has purchased 77 acres of land along Lee Road between 7th and 14th. And it's an unplatted parcel. So we need to get some documentation going for that piece of ground. The city plans to maintain 2 lots, one for the water treatment plant and a smaller piece for the animal shelter. And then a 5-acre piece, this says in the northeast, it's actually the northwest corner. When we bought that property, did the land swap with the school and everybody, we gave Ochoa the option to repurchase 5 acres in that northwest corner. So we plan to keep that piece of ground separate as well. And then there's a couple additional pieces just so that it's separated. And then if we need to adjust those lots, we can. So the task order is to divide the parcel with a fee not to exceed $9,500. So the staff recommends that council approve the budget for the request for Rogers Surveying to complete the survey task order 2026-01 and not to exceed $9,500.
Do I have a motion to approve the task order?
I will make the motion to approve task order 2026-01 with Rogers Surveying for the completion of surveying task order 2026-01 in the amount not to exceed $9,500.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So carries. Now we got a bit of an update from our Park and Recreation for the very busy calendar year coming up.
Okay, so I will need to share my screen if I can get permissions to do so. So I'll hit that, I don't know, I have the share button here. And now, okay, so I have the tentative schedule up now, up on the screen. The Recreation Department has everything listed for the 2026 year for the youth activities. And with that calendar, it shows that we have basically taking up each month. We don't have any gaps beginning March. So we have our spring sports listed and all the way through our winter sports. So beginning with soccer, soccer is quite popular, so we do have that listed twice. We have it listed to begin in March. So March is very important because we have our public works guys getting set and ready to prepare the bathrooms, and at this time, all parks are winterized. So all these dates are tentative, and that'll be determined by weather. Sometimes we have setbacks. Example, last year for soccer, we had to push back about a week. We like to have 2 weeks in between each season to give parents an opportunity to decide whether they want to join or not, and just kind of, they have kids kind of bouncing around in different sports. That gives them the opportunity to kind of set their schedule for the year. This gives them the idea to prepare for that because they do have more than one kid at times. And this is just a good view to have them decide what they'd like to join for the year. So all the final program details are confirmed and communicated directly to the registered participants through Sports Connect. And new information is given to each participant based on their registrations through Sports Connect. So using that, I can show you at the end how we mass email everyone to send out all those emails and information to each person. So we will move on to the Parks Guide. At this time, the Recreation Department does not plan to produce physical copies of the activities guide. Instead, we may be adding this guide to the city's website, allowing community members to view and print copies if they would like to. We can have a Spanish version available for them if residents, I feel we should. It's not even an if, we will. So we'll have it available for people to be able to choose whether they want to read it in English or Spanish. I can summarize what we have and kind of go through the process of what I put together. Everything that's in this guide is already on the website. And after I go through the guide, I'd like to show you guys what we have on our website and what we guide our participants to look at. You'll see QR codes everywhere. Anytime we post anything on Facebook, there's a QR code that'll guide them to the Sports Connect page. So those parents who have already participated with us and have kids who have been participating know of that page. For the new families that have maybe a preschooler or kindergartner, and that's their first kiddo and they don't know what to do or where to go, we hand out flyers. We collaborate with the school district, and we hand out flyers to the school, and they pass those out either in the classroom or they allow us to post flyers on their windows, and we do have those in Spanish and English. So as we go through, there's 5 parts to the guide, and we have the welcome that has the welcoming from us and our mission statement on there.
Can we
And
stop there?
Yes.
Mission or department overview. As disappointed I am that we don't have a pool for this city. It says, I don't want to give people the impression we have a community pool.
Right. So this is just something put together for you to see. This is not the final that will be posted. So things like that would, and we have on there like pool is closed. And when I show you on the website, it does show that the pool is closed. So this was just an example to present to council to give you an update on what we have. So we would obviously edit that into the community pool. Previously ran through dates, and we are now hoping to bring that back. So yes, details like that will be edited into the open. So I started 3 years ago, and we didn't have a guide at all. So I've been putting things together and updating as we go. So just as we had to update our Parks Committee. And I was asked to put something together before I even knew who our Parks Committee was, so that was edited just right before, you guys got put on, and I had to edit that and get that situated. So just something I was putting together. We have the Meet the
Could you
Team.
stop there, please? I want to take a picture of that where it says Ken Johnson, Mayor, City Administrator.
I'm glad this can be of entertainment for you, but that is for our City Hall members that are with us. And again, that was something I've had as a guide, and I'm replacing names as we go. So you're welcome for that.
Poking fun.
In addition, I know, I hear it. In addition, we have City Council members that were added, and of course, our most important, Public Works. To me, they have our back. They have everything ready. They do all the hard work, all the digging, all the moving. Things that I need, they get it done. So because we do all the planning behind the scenes, these are the guys behind everything to get it done. So our parks look great because of them. So I did want to emphasize that. In addition to, we have our Othello Go app that we like to announce to everyone, because on that Othello Go app, everyone who is on that can pay their bill. In addition to, we are listed under Sports and Recreation, and when you select that, it takes you to our Sports Connect page. So, which is, to me, our highlight would be the Sports Connect page that I can show you guys at the end. Then we have the What's New. So we have projects and improvements, and our upcoming is the splash pad that will be located at the Kiwanis Park. And our improvements that happened in 2025, proof that we do something. So thanks to our previous mayor and council and our Public Works Department, engineers, every department that had anything to do with all these improvements are listed here. We have our bathroom improvements at Kiwanis Park. We also have the futsal court that got put in last year, in addition to our pickleball courts and our expanded parking lot out at Tigueris. I am very much so a Tigueris Park fan because when I got here, it was recently purchased by the city, and just to see that growth out there and people out there and taking over, it's just beautiful to see everyone out there. So I'm excited about all the improvements that have been happening out there. When we got that, it was land, you know, and there was a vision already. So when we took that on to make that come to life, that's special. And I'm sure it's special to everybody who lives out there. So I'm excited about Tigueris, and yes, it is one of my favorites, and I'll say it out loud. So watching those improvements is really cool. We also have the kiosks.
I love all of the real pictures you have in here.
Yes.
On your welcome page, there's a cartoon.
Yes.
And I think it needs to go because these pictures are so much better.
We can replace
throughout
that.
the whole
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. Anytime we can get out there and get photos between IT and our department, we like to get out there and just get some realistic what's happening so everyone can see the realistic view. And it really puts, you know, basically, we don't need words because it's there and you see it. So that's what's amazing. So yeah, if we can find a really cool picture, I'll definitely replace that. Yeah. And then in addition to our kiosks, we have our scoreboard out there at Lions Park. And then we have, I wasn't going to go too much into detail about every page, but the splash pad, of course, these photos are for illustration purposes. So we don't have the exact photos that will be there, but it gives us a good idea on what we are expecting. And another thing we have that's on our page is the events calendar. So a lot of the events, Kelly, I did take your advice. We did update that, and we have our annual events that happen. These are the 2025 events. And on our webpage, we actually have them listed too. And there are links that you can select, and it takes you to the Sandhill Crane Festival page, the rodeo page, the Othello Chamber. So it has all that stuff. And we like to just share what's going on. So in the future, after I show you on the webpage, we'd like to start posting our updated 2026, but we left the 2025 just as a visual. So we also have the rentals and information on the website. It looks really nice that you can kind of navigate a bit better, but all the park rules are there in addition to how to rent. So you can come into our office or give us a call, make a payment over the phone. We do not have online payments, so we like to share how they can take care of that. So there are, I'm going to kind of scroll through these because I can actually show you on the webpage what it looks like.
Can you stop there a minute? On tennis courts, lights, according to that, the tennis courts, our new pickleball courts are not lit. That is at Lions Park, correct? I would like to see some collaboration with Public Works if we could get lighted tennis courts and pickleball courts. And if it needs to be in the budget, I'd like to work with you in getting in that budget for next year at least.
Note that. I know, isn't there a light that kind of automatically turns on? I know there's one, but it's not
a whole court light, yeah.
a whole court. So there is a light there, just not one that's.
It's not sufficient to play under.
Right.
At Kiwanis.
At Kiwanis, there's nothing.
Not Kiwanis.
Yeah,
This
Kiwanis,
is
there's
Lions,
nothing.
right?
At Lions, there's like one that's just automatic. It's
Yeah.
not one that you can say, hey, I'd like to rent that. Can I have this on from this hour to this hour? Or, you can't quite control that one. It's just, isn't it a dim light when the sun goes down?
Removed?
But it might have been when the basketball.
Because it used
court
to have
was
that
put in.
system.
It's our system that we have for the complex. When that was put in, they made it like possible to add another, to have access to another venue on the park, so.
Is the infrastructure
it.
there for that to replace it?
I thought we had fixed it. Well,
So did I. Interesting.
we have Kiwanis and its amenities. And Pioneer Park. Goes down to Tigueras. So I'm going to navigate both notes here so we can get to the Sports Connect. So here we have our sports.
I have a question about this. So earlier you said that you do at the school, give the younger kids the QR codes they can scan. Is online registration the only option?
No, they can stop by,
Okay.
so on there, they can stop by the office.
Does it say on those flyers that they can apply in person? And just out of curiosity.
We can add that, actually, that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Just because I think it might restrict some people who think that that's their only option.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good one, Oma.
Thank you.
Yes, we can add that. So this is for our sponsors, and on our page, I'll go through and kind of show you what and who has sponsored us, and we do advertise for them. We have seasonal employment and stipend options and opportunities. We like to encourage our teenagers from the high school to come out and get some experience with referees or umpiring. This helps start a resume for them.
I have a question on this one too. So they get a stipend, but could some of this also be done for their community service hours?
Yes, they have an option. So when
Do you
they
guys sign
come
off
in,
on those for them?
yes.
Okay.
When they come in to the office and sign up to umpire or coach, we ask them in the event that it's the stipend opportunity, we ask them, do you want to use this as volunteer service? And then we have a form for them to fill out, and we track their hours.
Perfect.
So they track their hours through Team Reach, their schedule. They will show that schedule to us. We can PDF that, attach that to the application we have that we give to them. So we keep a copy, and then we give them the original to take to their counselor, because usually in the leadership class, they will keep that document.
Yeah.
So then they can track that for
Okay.
some courses. Or even if they don't have that leadership class, they can use, I tell them they can use that as a document to keep, if you're going to apply for scholarships, that's your proof of hours.
Community service.
Community
Okay.
service hours.
Perfect, thank you.
At the moment, we have soccer registrations and Little League going. So this is the information we share with parents or on flyers on our website. So and then the All-Star information. A lot of parents like to know about that. There are All-Star dates already available. So on our website, we have those. Let me get to. The summer program. So we also have that on our website. So it's 3 weeks, ages 4 to 12, and there's 200 spots. We do have softball for our adults. Our goal is to have women's league and a men's league, but lately we've had the co-ed has been working for us. We did 1 year volleyball, and then we tried to do an outdoor volleyball, and then we didn't get enough people to sign up. We tried to do a outdoor 3-on-3 kind of tournament league for basketball, but that one we didn't get enough people signed up to get that done. So they really want the indoor, but we don't have the facilities to host. So I know during wintertime, it's really hard to get additional space with the school district because they do have winter sports also. So, but we do use their facilities to host our basketball. We work closely with them to navigate and schedule for basketball. Without that approval and availability at the school district, we wouldn't be able to host basketball for our kiddos. So I do appreciate that they work with us on that. And then we go through rules and regulations. So let me take you to our website. This is our website. And this is what it looks like here when you click on that. I think I have, let me get this out of the way. On the website, so everything that we saw on the guide is listed here. If some people really didn't know how to navigate this page, or if they needed it translated, there's an option down here. They can get it translated there. And these photos here, where it says you can click the picture to register, will take them directly to that page or that sport to get registered. We also have widgets up here that are live. So if there was a parent that got online and said, you know what, I don't want to read all the other stuff, I just need to register, I have 30-minute break, and I need to get it done, I need to go to MLS Go, that's what's live right now. They would just click on that little widget up top, and it would take them to the soccer page. So that's where we have, it's under recreation, and it would have the example of the uniform and their sizes. We have the policies of, we do have all the sizes that kids can try on if there's an opportunity where parents can come in. We do let them know they can come in and order, because once you order, there may be fees after that if you want to return that, because we don't carry this stock. We order exactly what the parents order or request to order. So when you get onto this page, it's going to have your registration dates, your season dates, your game days, and of course they're tentative. All this information is gathered from registrations so that we can create teams, schedules, and then see what works with our field space also. So that's how we determine what times people play or what divisions they play. We do have, this year we'd like to try to have a girls division instead of just co-ed with soccer, so that was new. So we did put girls soccer division update, and we were hoping that if we get 32 girls in each division, we would be able to separate them. In the registration, it does ask, if we do not get enough girls, are you still willing to play co-ed? Mm-hmm. If not, they put no, and then we know we can give them a call and give them a refund. So those are just options to have on there, and it has anything they need to know, and if they need to call us, they can do so. Our volunteers also use this page because we refer them to this safety training volunteer section here. And we have a sheet for them, and this is what we had to create because we didn't have a document for that, but the steps they need to take to volunteer with us. So they register when they're registering their child, or there's an option just to register if you don't have a child. And then step 2, we do the background checks. Then we have them download the communication apps. And then we have an orientation with every group of coaches for every sport to review rules and all the safety trainings that they need to have before they coach our kiddos. And then we track those, and our goal this year is to give them a card that has their picture on it and that they've completed their certifications. That was to help identify who our coaches were when it came to going to soccer fields out at Tigueras, because we have people who are out there and say, this is my space. But we have a policy that states our recreational groups get priority, and they get to have that space. If there's an adult group playing a game there, our kiddos have first priority if they didn't rent it, to practice. So we've had some people say, well, I'm coaching a team, and they'll have their group there, but we don't know that, and they claim to be part of our group, but if you don't have that card that says you did all your background checks, you're not part of our recreational group. So this is why we track all that for our coaches. And then we have a parent recreation resources for parents that have all the rules, code of conducts, weather policies. We want them all to be aware of concussions and sudden cardiac arrest situations and symptoms, that they click on that, and they have informational sheets for that. And so we also have our coaches go through that training. So we just want parents to also be aware, because they do take kiddos home.
Question. Training and background check, I'm guessing the city pays for that?
What we do, so we have I started using RCX Sports, which is MLS Go, Junior NBA, Little League also is involved with Sports Connect. We have so many background checks per team that we register,
Okay.
that we get for free. So if we go over that, then we pay.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, but if we go through them, we have to pay it's not a
Right.
full, we get a discount because we are Parks and Rec, so we don't pay the full $30 for the background check. But because we want everybody who's dealing with the kids, there are times that we do go over. So it's going to be the head coach, the assistant coach, the manager, anybody who's going to be with that group. So every page and every sport will have the information for each thing. So we can go to the activity, that's summer rec. This one's a little bit different because it's an activity and we do sponsor this one. So we do go through the process of hiring for team leaders. If everyone recalls, we did this because we didn't have the pool. So all of our lifeguards that year became our team leaders and already had their first aid training, and we're all set. So the second year we had kids apply, and then we hired our supervisors for that position also. And then additional information is listed there for parents if they had any questions. There's frequently asked questions listed also. And we refer them back to, if there are any additional questions, just to give us a call or stop by. Right down here. All of our pages will usually have that. And then on the bottom, you can see we have our sponsors, and each one is an active link that will go to their page. For example, you can go there, and then that's their advertisement there. We have park facilities, so we have our city park. So I'm going to move on from recreation because if all of our pages are quite similar, have the same parent stuff and volunteer items, so it just depends on what sport they're interested in. Then our park facilities, we have the city parks listed on there. And then we have reservation options that moves on to the next one. And then what you should see first is that what's highlighted, our park amenities for winter conditions are, and it has the dates listed there. We have our forms attached also if they want to reserve any sports facilities or shelters. And I understand there's a lot of people who come back, and we have it already. There's a reunion that's going to happen. Well, this person said, I moved to Arizona. I don't know what it looks like. And then we gave her the link to the page. And we said, you can take a look at what it looks like now. And, she got on and she clicked on Kiwanis Park and said, I want to know what I'm renting here, right? So you can she saw that this picture was there. She said, so beautiful. It's looking wonderful. But you can't quite see the shelters there. Mm-hmm. So what we did, we scrolled down again. We have these live photos, your first option. And then it has the amenities listed underneath of what it looks like. So and we did that for each park. And then onto our events calendar. Again, right now for reference, we left our 2025 local events listed. And if anybody wants to have or host a special event, there are forms listed here. And we listed everything that happens through the spring, summer, fall, and winter, and then ongoing. So if we go back up, I'm going to do an example because the Othello Sandhill Crane Festival is coming up, and it does have the dates for last year. But and it also says, please check the organizer's link, and it'll give you the updated information. And then it goes to theirs, and they would have more information on the event that's happening and all the updated information. So as soon as this is done, you know, and this is just to use as a presentation. We're going to update everything that we know is happening, and then kind of as we go and get requests to bring events to council, we'll be updating our event page.
Did they use the parks at all for the Sandhill Crane?
They used, one year they used the Pioneer Park. They rented it, the shelter.
Did we open the restrooms for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we went on to donations, and it has our spotlight here on this page. And these are the options that were also listed on the guide. And because I want to highlight our 2025 sponsors, it's another opportunity, right? In addition to being listed at the bottom and having access to that, these are sponsors who helped us out this last year. So there we go, we had those there. And then to finish it off, we have our forms. Everything that we've talked about, all the forms are also here. So, do we have any other questions about our page?
I know we talked earlier today about your brochure in particular, which I think is extremely well done, and I hope gets at least posted electronically, places for people to look. I do think in our community in particular, we do have families that do not have web access or a place to do that and print something like that. I would like to see at some point in the future us having a small volume of print copy, both in English and Spanish. And maybe we partner with the school district and say, look, when you have brand new families to our communities, that it's their first time in our district, this is a way that you can pass that on to bring them in. I do really commend the Parks and Rec, your whole department, for how robust our programs are for our kids here, for the size of our community. We've been here since my son turned 1 and my daughter was starting kindergarten. So we've kind of run the gamut of almost all of these. And I think for our size of community, it's incredible what we're able to offer for our kids.
I would ditto that. I live across the street from Lions Park and walk it most days and I can watch the sports across the street from my front porch, and it's absolutely amazing, the coordination and the facilities. Why you're here, though, I would like for a continuous improvement. In 2023, they took out 2 picnic shelters in Lions Park, and I would like to see at least one of those go back.
It's making, right? It's on
We
the
currently
list.
have a shelter for Lions Park and one for Kiwanis on, it's part of our capital improvement projects to get those ones done. So we ordered steel structures and they're on their way here.
This year?
This year.
And another low-hanging fruit is they did a marvelous job on that concession stand in the ball fields at Lions Park, but the outdoor security lights, since that was completed 2 years ago, have been on 24/7. So if we could get a dusk to dawn switch there, that would be awesome. So I don't have to hear my constituents complain about wasted electricity, et cetera, et cetera. But otherwise, fantastic. I believe sports is a backbone for a great community. Get them away from the video game.
Yes, absolutely.
My son is sad there's not basketball year round. He would like it to just keep going.
That's why a lot of people come in, I'm like, oh, we usually, we have to work with the school district. And like I said, we're very fortunate that the time we have, that we're able to get them in there. So yeah, if we had a facility, that would be amazing to have, we would be able to have that year round, so.
Any more questions for Valerie? I want to thank you very much for this presentation tonight.
You're welcome.
I know there's a bunch of us that are new to some of this information, but there's a few that have had kids go through this activity that really makes a difference. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
At this time, we'll go to unfinished business.
Fire department.
Fire department. On January 13th, myself and two council members, Councilmember Garza and Councilmember Camp, went down and talked to the Adams County Fire District 5 commissioners. Seeing that our timeline was quickly approaching, we asked them for several options for an extension to the current contract. So it would give us time to, as a new council, and see the direction that we really want to go on the fire department. They should be coming back with several options on the contract extension to us, hopefully before the end of the week. As soon as we get those proposals, we'll call together the fire council and go over those and discuss it and take our direction from there.
So how about the hiring of somebody, a chief police, because you can't even begin to have a police department without a fire chief. You can't do anything. You can't get volunteers. You can't do.
Hey, Mark, at this time, I don't think we have any time to do anything, to be honest with you, because I think we dropped the ball back in December. So I think the only thing to do is get an extension. It's either to the end of the year or till next April. So I don't see how we can make this fire department work in the next 2 months, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm not
There's
saying in
two
the next
options that we're
couple
talking
months.
about that are on the table. And I think we should go, we'll go through that perhaps in another meeting. But there ain't no way you're going to get a fire chief and assistant chief and get fully staffed. There's no way you're going to do it between now and the end of April.
Right, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying you have to start somewhere. You can't just keep pushing it off. If we push it off till May, then it's going to get pushed off again and again and again. We need to get the personnel and start working on it. And yes,
my fear of hiring a fire chief right now is if we did that, and as we go down the road and figured out that it would be too costly for us to run our own fire department, having to lay him off after a certain amount of time. I think we need to discuss as a council the future of the fire department and the for sure direction with some good numbers on what we really want to do before we start hiring people for a department that we don't even have yet.
I think with that extension, Mark, that gives us the option too. It's either we start our own fire department, we annex, or we stay with the fire department the way we are. So it's too soon right now. We really can't make a decision. The best option for us is to go ahead and get a number from them. And we did express to them that, they got us on, in a noose to treat us good because there might be negotiations going down the road. So I think where we're at right now, to be honest with you, is we wait for a number from them. Like that. We have all year to work on it. I'm not saying we're not going to do our own fire department, but I'm saying at this time, there's no way we can get set up with once again, with the chief, assistant, and be fully staffed and be satisfactory for the city. There's no way we can do it. So I think that's the only option we have is to get a number from them. Hopefully it's a good number to finish off the year, and then we'll go from there. Talk about it the rest of the year. Anybody has any better ideas, let me know.
I will discuss it in our
Yes,
meeting.
yes, and I hope to have that before the end of the week.
Before the end of the week?
Yes, those numbers.
Okay.
The proposals from Adams
Will
County
that
Fire
go
District
then
5.
to committee for
That will go
consideration?
to committee.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that.
Any further discussion on that? Any more unfinished business? Any new business?
I have some new business, Mayor. I have recently seen several complaints about the accessibility of the recycling area. It's open from 7 a.m. and I believe it's closed and locked at 3 p.m. when Public Works is done working for the day. Most people are at work till 5, and so this has been, what I've seen, very inconvenient for a lot of people. I was wondering if council would be willing to discuss a different option. I know with the bathrooms in the summer months, OPD usually closes those late at night, well after Parks, Public Works is gone for the day. I was wondering if maybe the recycling area could adopt something like that, where they could maybe be open till 7 and then locked at night by OPD? If that's something we would like to discuss. I don't know if there's another option. I just know that it is really hard for people to get into that area during those hours.
I could see your request. I think
I can add to that because I have also received a couple complaints about that as well. I think though probably the process is it needs to go to committee for review and understand. I mean, it was put that way for a reason.
Right.
So re-review opportunities and options. So I think I would recommend that this go to committee and then for a formal recommendation, if any changes to be made to council.
Whatever works for me. I'd just like there to be discussion on this subject.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Robin, you have any comment on that right now? Because I know that's down in your area.
It is our area. And part of the problem leaving it open after 3, because I know when I first started here that it was open and OPD was responsible for closing it. But too many times there were other things going on and it didn't get closed. And then we have issues from garbage, or they're overfilling it, or there's a mess and the cardboard's just in that whole area instead of actually in a dumpster. So that's why they started closing it at 3. And the easy thing at the parks is the bathrooms are actually on timers now that OPD isn't responsible. So it's hard to rely on staff that is responding to calls to then have to do maintenance items. It's hard to ask officers to go do something that maintenance should be doing.
No, I totally agree. I just still think that another resolution needs to, I think we need to come up with something
Right.
else. I don't know what that is,
I
but
agree.
it's just what we're doing isn't working. People are complaining because they can't get in there. 3 p.m. is way too early. Everyone works really late, especially in this community. So I do think something else needs to be done. I just don't know what that is.
Yep. So I'd like to work on a solution, but
Perfect.
Right.
Okay.
One solution, which would benefit the community, is a weekend day opening.
Yeah.
Whatever the Parks Committee comes up with.
That would be great. Most people are cleaning up and recycling on the weekends when they're not working during the week. I mean, that's when I do it.
Oh, when it used to be out by Pioneer Park there, it got to be a real mess, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we'll take a look at that. I guess we'll have Robin kind of look at several different options and we'll take it to the committee from there. Any other new business? Okay. Council will also receive the comprehensive plan update schedule, the public engagement plan portion of it, the planning commission meeting minutes, and also public works engineering report. With that, council is adjourned.
All right.